Okay, so today we will be starting with logical operators and how we can use that with our if function. So I'll just share my screen and I'm doing this live, so no videos. Okay, so I'm just opening my Python now. Okay, so in the previous session, we talked about, the if statement. We talked about it in quite a long length, and we discussed how we can implement the if statement. What are the other, features of if statement? The usage of the word else, usage of the word elif, and how we can, incorporate Boolean function within the if function as well to make our if code a lot more clearer, a lot more better. So today we will, take it a step further and we will talk about the logical operators which exist within Python, and they are and, or, and not. So these are three logical operators that, come very much in handy when we are doing if statements particularly. So basically logical operators, we use them when we have multiple conditions. Okay, so for example, I want to build a program which decides whether or not a person is eligible for a loan or not. And there are two conditions: if the applicant has high income and good credit. So there are two conditions, and if these two conditions are met, only then is the applicant eligible for loan. So if the applicant has high income and good credit, only then will we print the statement eligible for loan. So there's a very easy way to do this, and that is simply, first of all, we always begin, our if function, our if statements code with a Boolean. So we have to first define our Boolean value. In this case, we have two things to define basically. One is has high income and the other is has good credit. So these two will be our Boolean functions as well, which we will be defining. So the first is has high income, and we can just put that to true, and we can change that later around and we can see how our program's result changes, but right now I'm just putting it as true. The second is condition is has good credit, so just gonna put has good credit equals true. Okay, now we will begin our actual code. So pretty simple. If has good credit and has high income, print eligible for loan. And that's it. That is literally all that we have to do. I run this and eligible for loan because both the conditions are being met. Now, what if I put one of these as false and then check this out? Okay, so nothing is being printed. That is because हमने जब and डाला है ना, basically this logical operator and, this basically means that both the conditions need to be met. Has good credit needs to be true, has high income also needs to be true. So this is the thing about and, okay, when you use the logical operator and, both the conditions need to be met. And it basically, and is a good logical operator to use when you want to combine two conditions. And in this case, both those conditions need to be met. If I put this as false as well, so no result, because once again, neither of the conditions are being met. And if I put both as true, eligible for loan is being printed because both the conditions are being met. Has good credit भी है true, has high income भी है true. So that means कि हमारी दोनों conditions meet हो रही हैं, जिसका मतलब है एक statement print हो जाएगी just eligible for loan. If I make either of these two, false, अगर मैं has high income को false कर दूंगी, then eligible for loan won't be printed because the condition won't be met. And the condition is कि दोनों हमारे जो cases हैं, ये दोनों cases true होने चाहिए. Okay, now what if I just want कि like इन दोनों में से एक भी अगर true हो ना, तो like print हो जाए. in that case I will use the logical operator or. So this basically means that अगर good credit है या फिर high income है, इन दोनों में से कोई एक भी चीज़ है ना, it works, ठीक है, मतलब कि print हो जाएगी statement. So इस case में दोनों ही true हैं, but हम एक को false कर देते हैं, and we will see how the statement is still being printed. So this basically means कि और के लिए only one condition needs to be met. It's like या तो ये या फिर ये, but and में ये है कि ये और ये, meaning both conditions for and this and that, but for or it's this or that. So you need to be careful when defining, you know, your boolean function कि किस चीज में true आ रहा है, किस चीज में false आ रहा है, and accordingly do that. Now we have another one, and for that I'll just change around the boolean definitions. So has good credit, and I'm just putting that to true, and then I have another has criminal record also, let's put that to true. So let me just, if okay, so now basically, you know, like some job applications do require the applicant's criminal record, whatever that is, if it's there, you know. So this is an important distinction that we must have, and not basically what it does is that it converts or it inverses any boolean value that we have given it. So for example, अगर मैंने the true कहा हुआ है कि has criminal record true, it will basically inverse it, it will make it false. और obviously हमने पहले ये कर लिया हुआ है कि अगर and में दोनों true होने चाहिए, but not के साथ ये true false बन जाते हैं, meaning कि हमारे पास अब true और false बन गया है, and में we want both true, but हमारे पास both true नहीं आ रहे, एक true और एक false है, जिसका मतलब है कि this won't be printed. Let's try. It's not printed. See, so it's like कि has criminal record, जैसे I'm, you know, an applicant and I'm putting in my information and I'm saying कि has good credit, true, I do have good credit. Then I say has criminal record, okay, I do have criminal record, so I put true. That automatically is, you know, when I put either and not लगा, when I उससे automatically system को पता चल जाता है कि इसके पास criminal record है, meaning that applicant cannot be taken in for consideration, और वो race से निकल गया. So technically he's, you know, out of it. So वो condition फिर false हो जाती है, and we know that when one condition is false and the other is true, तो हमारा and वाले logical operator के वक्त the statement will not be printed, because for and we want both the conditions to hold true. So I hope you understand that more. So before we, you know, discussed only the logical operator and. So with and, both conditions should be true to get that statement. आपके पास जो भी boolean definition है, whatever it is, it has to hold true. Both of them need to be true, और फिर ही जाके आपकी statement print होगी. With or, the scene is different. You only need one condition to be true to get, you know, the statement. ठीक है? तो that's it. So or में it's just one condition needs to be true, दूसरी जो मर्जी false हो जाए, whatever. But one condition needs to be true ताकि statement print होए. And में दोनों statements या दोनों conditions need to be true ताकि आपका result आपको मिले. Not में it's basically a boolean value जो भी होती है, it's inverses, ठीक है? It inverses itself. So if we give it a true boolean value, it becomes false. अच्छा, अब हम criminal record को false कर देते हैं, मतलब अब एक नया applicant आया है, ठीक है? And they're typing in the information and they see कि अच्छा has good credit. That's true, ठीक है? They have good credit. Has criminal record? No, they don't have criminal record. They have a completely clean record. So they will write false here कि उनके पास नहीं है criminal record, ठीक है? And if they print that eligible for loan, ठीक है? Basically because this false is automatically inverted या inverted whatever into true. And क्योंकि यहाँ पे not है ना, not का आपने basically यही ध्यान रखना है कि whenever there is a not logical operator attached with the and, you know, and not. So whenever there is a not, basically any boolean function that you attach to that specific क्या कहते हैं feature or whatever, that is converted, ठीक है. So if it's a false, it will become true, and we know कि जब दो true हमारे पास हो जाए और and भी साथ लगा हो तो वो statement print हो जाती है. But if I put this as true, then not, basically this not logical operator converts this true to a false, and then and देखता है कि एक true है एक false है, that doesn't match with my conditions, मतलब कि मुझे तो दोनों true चाहिए थे, but यहाँ पे तो एक true एक false है, meaning it won't print the statement eligible for no. So that's it. Just need to keep in mind and, or, and, sorry, or and not, and that's about it. Okay, so next, yesterday we talked about if functions in detail, so we don't really need to go into all of that again because it was, you know, काफी अच्छी तरीके से. So today we'll just talk about nested if. So nested if is basically a term which is used when आपके पास एक if function का code है और उसके अंदर आपके पास एक और if है. So it's basically something like if a is equals to whatever whatever, then you print something, then you print, you know, something ke, oh, okay, agar if this condition is met then print this, and then you put again another if. Okay, so this is what nested if is, कि एक if function के अंदर ही एक और if function है, कि मतलब कि there are two layers to a single if code, and that is basically कि अगर पहले ऊपर वाली लेयर वाला if अगर मीट हो रहा है फिर ही अंदर वाली लेयर का if मीट होगा. मतलब कि कंप्यूटर पर देखिएगा कि अगर ये आउटर लेयर पहले हो रही है मीट या नहीं, अगर ये नहीं हो रही है तो द कंप्यूटर वोंट इवन बॉदर रीडिंग, यू नो, द अगली लाइंस का कोड, तो इट विल जस्ट स्किप टू elif or else or whatever there is. बट अगर ये भी मीट हो रहा है फिर वो अंदर जाएगा, वो देखेगा कि oh there's the if to it, and it will then execute that and so on and so forth. So let's do an example for this. So for example, I have a variable which is set to 100. Okay, so now we are writing a code, an if statements code for a mathematician, for example. So if variable is less than 200, now this variable could be anything. It could be the weather outside, although it wouldn't be 100 or something, but it could be anything. It could be the water level, you know, anything like that. So in that sense, if is very useful because sensors or stuff mein, it is very useful. So variable is equals to 100. I've defined this as variable because it can be anything. I'm not restricting it to anything. So variable is equals to 100. Now if this variable is less than 200, I want to print expression value. Expression value is basically a variable. Expression value is less than 200 because this is what, you know, this less than wala sign is this. So expression value is less than 200, and I also need to put a full stop here and this. Okay, but then I want to define further कि अच्छा ठीक है कि हाँ ठीक है variable is let's just print this. Okay, so variable is 100 and 100 is less than 200, तो इसलिए हमारी ये print हो जाती है. Let's say कि हम ऊपर change कर देते हैं to 207. Nothing is printed because 207 is not less than 200. ये condition meet हो ही नहीं रही. So again we put 100 again, so it holds true and it is printed. But what if I want to take it a step further and I want to also let the user know कि असल में वो value है क्या, ठीक है? मतलब variable is less than 200 is quite vague because 200 के नीचे हमारे पास कितने और numbers हैं. So I want to take it a step further. So इसी के अंदर I will begin defining what it could be. So if variable is equals to 150, then I want to print which is 150. So this is like सबसे पहले, okay, let's change this to 150 now and just see. Okay, so सबसे पहले हमारे कंप्यूटर ने देखा कि वेरिएबल है क्या, it's 150. फिर उसने हमारी if function की statement देखी, which is कि if variable is less than 200. In this case, it is less than 200 because 150 is less than 200. So then it printed expression is value is less than 200. Then it took it a step further क्योंकि ये वाली condition meet हो रही थी तो वो पूरा कोड पढ़ेगा. तो वो नेक्स्ट स्टेटमेंट पे आता है, वो देखता है कि इफ वेरिएबल इज equal to 150. Now I talked about this yesterday too. So basically this is, you know, an operator for an if function. This is also an operator. So you always use double equals to whenever you're, you know, equating a variable and a number within the if function. So this is very important. Okay. Okay, so if variable is equal to 150, so then you have to print this. अगर ये होता 160, so we only get this statement which is k 160 is less than 200. सिर्फ ये वाली statement जो है meet हो रही है. This doesn't hold true. If variable is equal to 150, it's not equal to 150. तो ये statement नहीं आएगी. Okay, I want to take it a step further. I have more. अच्छा, by the way, this is very important, indentation. So first, yesterday I talked about indentation, how PyCharm does it itself, ठीक है? But you also need to be careful to realize कि कब आपका code start हो रहा है, कब खत्म हो रहा है, to make better sense of, you know, to make better sense of how to execute your code. So this entire block is going to be our one if code, और इसके अंदर हमारी second layer of if है. Basically this is our nested if. इसलिए हम if को अंदर लेके जाते हैं to basically show that this whole thing is basically within this bigger thing. This is the outer layer. So then the inner layer begins. ठीक है? And print का हमें हमेशा पता है कि print हमेशा indent होके आगे जाता ही है. So now when I'm, you know, when I'm pressing enter, it's coming here, but I don't want it here. I want it to go इसी level पे, because मेरे सारे जो अंदर वाले है ना वो एक ही layer पे हैं. मतलब I want them executed एक साथ ही. So I'll explain that after this. So elif, basically you use elif, which is short for else if. ठीक है? We use elif जब आपके पास ज़्यादा cases होते हैं. इस केस में हमारे ज़्यादा cases हैं. एक दफ़ा if इस्तेमाल करते हैं और बाकी दफ़ा हम elif करते हैं. So if variable is equals to 100, then I want to print which is 100. Okay. Then you have another elif, हम कह देते हैं elif variable is equal to 50, then print which is 50, and that's it. And now I want to like complete the code. Now I just want an else. So I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna say else, which is basically your last resort. Else is basically जब ऊपर वाला सारा if वाले code basically उनकी condition नहीं meet होती, तो else is your like last resort. So print could not find true expression, and print goodbye. Okay, so let's just, okay, so basically what I've done here now, I'll just explain this and that would be it for the day. So firstly, हमने indentation सबसे पहले, the first big issue. सबसे पहले तो this is our outer layer of if, ठीक है? This is basically the first layer of if, and this is the second layer. So this is basically like this, कि हम सबसे पहले देखेंगे if variable is less than 200. For example, over here I have 350. So the computer first sees this statement, which is if variable is less than 200. फिर वापस जाते हैं, वो देखता है कि variable है क्या. वो देखता है it's 350. And then the computer decides that no, this condition is just not true because 350 is not less than 200. तो वो इस सब को disregard कर देता है, because उससे अब इसको आगे बढ़ने की जरूरत ही नहीं, because उसकी first layer ही नहीं hold true हो रही. So he doesn't want to go अंदर दूसरे ifs में. वो यहीं पे रुक जाएगा और कहेगा sorry bye, and then it will come to this last resort thing to see कि अगर इसकी चीज print करनी है नहीं, and ये print हमेशा करनी है जब ये वाली ऊपर वाली सारी चीज नहीं meet होती. So this is basically your last resort, and it's only printed whenever ऊपर वाली if वाली elif वाली सारी चीजें निकलती है false, नहीं condition meet होती. So अब 350 के साथ हम करते हैं print. So only could not find true expression will be printed, and obviously print goodbye will be printed always. I told you guys before too, like in the previous session, काफी अच्छी तरह समझाया था कि this is not part of the if function, this is not part of else function. ये अलग है. It's like अगर आप सारे को delete कर दोगे ना, and you just print this, तो ये बस goodbye print होता जाएगा. So basically that's what it. इसके साथ कोई conditions नहीं है involved. It's just alone. It's isolated. It has no conditions attached to it. इसलिए उसने कोई देखना नहीं है कि उसकी कोई conditions meet हो या नहीं, because उसके साथ कोई conditions attach ही नहीं की हुई user ने, so that it will always be printed. Goodbye will always be printed because it has no conditions attached to it. So yeah, that's about it with goodbye. And about else, as I mentioned before too, कि else is printed जब ये if वाला ऊपर is false. So it's basically like अगर ये वरना फिर ये, else को आप इस तरह translate कर सकते हो, ठीक है. So अगर ये नहीं हो रहा true तो बस फिर ये else this, and could not find true expression. So now let's just try to meet this condition. And okay, let's do 100. So again, the first statement, the computer will read if the variable is less than 200. The computer वापस जाता है और देखता है कि the variable is 100, and then it decides that yes, 100 is less than 200. So वो आगे outer layer से अंदर को नीचे layers में जाता है. So the first layer is if variable is less than 200, and that is true. The variable is less than 200. 100 is less than 200. So then the computer decides, okay, fine, we will go under to other ifs now, because हमारी outer layer of if की condition meet हो रही है. So nested if में you have to be sure कि आप अपना code इस तरह लिखो, indent भी इस तरह करो कि this stands out, this has to stand out, इसलिए ये like indent नहीं हुआ हुआ, because this is your first condition, this is your outer layer. और ये अगर फिर नहीं होती meet तो ये सारा disregard हो जाता है, which is what we want. We want कि only ये print होए और उसके बाद ये additional information. This is basically additional information. This is not very high key important or anything. This is additional information. इसलिए इसको हमने अंदर if के डाले, अंदर layer डाली है हमने कि this should come only if the ऊपर वाली bigger layer, the most important thing, holds true. Okay, so 100 is less than 200. That is true. So we will print our most important line, which is expression values less than 200. Now we wanted to take it a step further and we wanted to explain further कि आखिर ये value less than 200 है कौन सी, ठीक है. So then we go within the if function, or फिर like indent भी करते हैं, because this is अंदर को जाके, this is additional information, this is the next second layer to the bigger outer layers, ठीक है. अगर मैंने layers में ना करना होता और मैंने individual independent सबको रखना होता तो फिर मैं इसको indent ना करती, then I would have just done this and this and this. But no, I wanted to keep this code, this ये जिसको मैं indent कर रही हूँ, this depends on this condition holding true. So basically these three ifs basically depend on this big if, which is why this is a nested if. ठीक है, एक बड़े if के अंदर ये छोटे छोटे ifs को nest किया हुआ है अंदर, ठीक है, layer in किया हुआ है, and they will only be considered if the bigger if is true. If the bigger if की condition is held true, only then ये अंदर वाले if, the second layer के if, will be considered and pondered over, whatever, ठीक है. So 100 is less than 200, bigger if की condition meet हो रही है, फिर ही हम अंदर वाले ifs में जाएंगे, and then we see कि if variable is equal to 150, it's not, तो फिर वो आगे जाता है elif पे, is equals to 100, it is true, this thing is true, so then it prints which is 100, and we will see that which is 100 is printed here. And obviously it's not equal to 50, तो वो इसको भी disregard कर देगा, and else को भी वो disregard कर देगा, because हमारी ऊपर वाली चीज़ true हो चुकी है, तो हमें else की ज़रूरत नहीं है. else तभी होता है जब ऊपर वाली चीज़ नहीं true होती है, जब ऊपर वाली सारी चीज़ें false हो जाती हैं, फिर ही else हमारा last resort होता है. And goodbye will be printed always because it has no conditions attached to it, it's isolated. And yeah, that's it for today. I hope everyone understood that. If you have any more questions, please let me know through my email or on the WhatsApp group. And that's it for the if statement. And in the next session, Zoha will be taking it a step further with for loop, while loop, and that's where we will be using all these other functions that we discussed today. So please keep a note of them and ask me any questions if you want. And on the weekend, probably we will be posting an assignment. So please do that.